Alright, greetings internet, Didier here, and welcome to the third decklist video that we have to offer. This is actually round 2, take 2, with Palpatine, the Galactic Emperor. Azarith has been working on this deck for several weeks now, maybe even several months, and I just love it. Palpatine offers a very unique playstyle. He has his own corner in the meta almost. So I'm really excited. I love this deck. I love playing against it and playing with it. So take it away, Azarith.
Hey everybody. So playing Palpatine is really a lot of fun. I remember when he was first spoiled, it was a deck that I really wanted to play because playing one character, that's got to be really difficult. So I started brewing up some Palpatine stuff. Really love his ability with his versatile dice sides, along with a lot of the cards that came with him. But just a 15 health character, it's hard to kill because he generates his own shields that also can do damage no matter what he's doing. It's just such a versatile character, a lot of fun, that allows the player to play a very kind of control aggression style, which fits my play style.
Love that control aggression. It's definitely my play style as well. Love it.
Yeah. Then looking at Otoh Gunga, which is a battlefield that a lot of people don't really think about too much. It was one that I even looked over a lot when it first came out. But just being able to claim heal damage is really strong, especially when you're a character like Palpatine who's a fast claimer, which is why Palpatine is so good in the meta right now, because the meta is flooded with Poe Maz. Palpatine is faster than Poe Maz most of the time. So Otoh Gunga lets you just heal a damage from a character, and if Poe Maz wants to outclaim you, then they're leaving dice on the table. And generally, then you're able to just go Palpatine nuts.
Yeah, it's only 1 damage, so if your opponent gets it, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, it's not the best thing in the world, but you can definitely, as Palpatine, considering that your maximum, I mean, just with Palpatine alone, you can resolve 10 damage a turn. So, like, yep. Right there, you can say that. And that's without upgrades, so.
Yeah, the other reason Otoh Gunga is so good is, or better for you than it is for your opponent, you have 1 character, they have 2, and you're doing spread damage. Your healing is much more focused than theirs is. Mm-hmm. So,
that's a good point.
You get a lot more efficiency out of it than your opponent does.
Definitely. All right, so now let's look at this list. Yeah.
So, I love this deck because not only do we get to play a lot of really fun control cards, and Rise Again, which is awesome, but you also play a lot of really expensive and good upgrades that you never have to pay for. So I never hard cast any of my upgrades except for Lure of Power, and that's generally only early, like very early game, or Force Illusion if I have to. But just being able to Holocron into upgrades and Rise Again into other upgrades, while still having all of your resources for your removal and your healing, this deck is just so versatile, and I love it.
I love it too. Love it. All right, so now let's go over the upgrades.
So not running a whole ton of upgrades. One, because we're cheating out a lot of our upgrades. So we don't need a lot of the dice to slow down the deck. A lot of upgrades is going to slow down a lot of decks. So Palpatine just being able to cheat them out as he's going while still just doing whatever he does becomes really important. And it's mainly a speed thing. So
yeah. Also, another good point is that Palpatine himself, you only can have 3 upgrades on you. Correct. So you're not going to want to fill your half or more of your deck with upgrades when you're only going to be utilizing 3 at any given time.
Correct. And the other thing is, and I explained this to somebody once, Palpatine's dice are better than any upgrade you could possibly play on him. Because of his ability. So you don't focus on upgrades. And a lot of times against like the Poe Maz matchups, you're going no upgrade versus no upgrade, and your dice are going to win.
All right, so let's start us off here. Sith Holocron, the creme de la creme of blue villain upgrades.
Yeah, the staple blue villain upgrade. This is one of the ways that we actually cheat in our upgrades. Cheating in Force Lightning, Force Push, Force Throw. It can actually cheat in Force Illusion too. I've done that before, just for a quick save. There's very little to talk about Holocron because it just does
amazing
so
things.
much.
It's just an accelerant. It's a freaking catalyst.
Yep. Then going into Lure of Power. Lure of Power is a controversial card that a lot of people have been questioning me about. I love this card, especially if you can get it on early game where you don't have to really do a lot of removal in the first turn, where you can drop a lure of power down at the late end of the turn, because it can generate multiple of all of Palpatine's sides. You're going to resolve Palpatine no matter what his side is, so why not add a modifier to it? 3 shields is, against an aggro deck, is just going to win you a game. 3 shields with 2 damage, that's a 5 damage swing. Let alone if you can get the +2 and a resource side, you're speeding your way into a rise again.
Yeah, or 4 discard. Like I play mill decks, and 4 discard is very appealing to me.
4 discard on 1 dice, like.
Well, 2 dice.
Really,
it's still
2 dice
using
technically,
lore
yeah.
power.
Right, or a 7 damage ranged attack because of the Palpatine ability. Like lure power is just such a good card for. It's a versatile because it can use its modifiers for any side, with Palpatine who just has versatile sides. Yeah, they just go very well together.
Love it, love it, love it.
Force Lightning. Force Lightning does damage. Did you want to do damage? You want Force Lightning.
Yep.
It has 5 damage
sides.
Yeah. Along with a special side that can actually be control, which is really cool because you're removing dice with it.
Yeah, and it's not bad. Like you may think like removing a blank, like meh, but blanks are re-rolled. Like blanks will be turned into good things. So using this ability to remove it, it can help out a big time.
Yep. Now this spot, a lot of people are going back and forth of should this spot be Mind Probe or should it be Force Lightning? I think you can go either way. In my experience of what I've been playing, I've play tested both upgrades. I like Force Lightning better than I like Mind Probe because Force Lightning's damage is going to be relevant at every point of the game, where Mind Probe special has 2 special sides which are really good, but those specials get less and less relevant as the turn goes on. And then it has 3 for a money side, where you have a 2 free side, a 3 for a money, a 4 for a money. It just Force Lightning is all about doing damage, and Mind Probe doesn't do it as well.
Yeah, Mind Probe has some control elements, but this is not a control deck. Like this is an aggressive. It's like a control aggro deck. Like it's not an aggro control deck. If that makes sense.
Then going into Force Push. I love Force Push, again, because it's going back to that controlled aggression playstyle. It has damage, it has discard, and it has a really awesome control special of being able to just flip 2 dice to a blank, to any side, really, that you want. If you're sitting on a Force Throw, turn one of their dice to a high damage side and throw it at them.
Yeah, or this special has so much combo-esque with Force Throw and Force Lightning. You can do both.
Yes, I love Force Push. And I know I got the original idea for some of the changes from Justin McBride's list. He was only running 1 Force Push, and I thought that was a mistake, so I wanted to run 2. So I purposely made room for the second one, because I think Force Push is an amazingly underrated upgrade.
Yeah, it's a great card.
Force Throw, not much to talk about. Still one of the best blue upgrades in the game. The special is just control. It's another one of those control damage cards. Like, it's so good.
3 damage
It's one of your only ways to deal with like Crime Lord, which is Palpatine's biggest weakness. So you definitely want to, against yellow villain, you want Force Throw, and you want Force Throw as fast as possible.
Hard mulligan for that.
Yeah. And then Force Illusion. Force Illusion's a saving grace card that I love. Even though Vibro Knife is relevant, you can deal with the Vibro Knife and still have your Force Illusion of being able to just save yourself damage by milling cards. And people are like, well, I don't want to mill a whole lot of cards. You don't care because you're putting upgrades in your discard pile. The only time you'll care is if you mill both Rise Agains, in which case, well, you better be fast.
Yeah. All right, so that is all for the upgrades. So now let's go over the event.
So No Mercy is a closer. That's just you need to end a game. I'm going to resolve 9 damage in one go. That card is bananas good. There are times where I don't like to play it just because I'm sitting with like a Rise Again in my hand, or I have the other No Mercy and you don't want to ditch your whole hand. But again, comes with the versatility. I'm going to ditch 2 cards. Oh, that turns my 3 ranged into 7. It's 7 damage. Like No Mercy is just a closeout card, just a blowout.
Really great. Of course, it's amazing with Palpatine because it does resolve the dice, and so that does still activate your Palpatine ability.
Yeah, that's the caveat to that, is that it says resolve, which is so good.
For sure, for sure.
Going into Feel Your Anger. Feel Your Anger is another blowout card, but in the other way. Your opponent rolls out. They've got 10. They still have all of their characters. They've got 10 dice going out. Half of them are blanks. Well, I'm going to Feel Your Anger and just remove half of your dice.
Yeah, such
Sorry.
a great late game card.
Yeah, I love Feel Your Anger. I've had a lot of blowouts with it. Obviously, there are times where it won't be relevant and some dice that it can't hit, but it's just the upside is too up to cut it.
Right, for sure.
Outrun. Isolation, real simple. Spot a blue character to remove a character dice. It's a staple control card in blue villain. Real simple.
And the beauty of this is, of course, you will always be able to spot a blue character.
Yep, because if you can't, you've lost.
Yep, you die. Yeah, if you can't, you're done.
So going into high ground, you're going to sense a theme with this deck is there's a lot of removal in this deck because Palpatine needs to be able to control his opponent's dice. Otherwise, he's just going to get overwhelmed. So high ground, most likely you're going to have the battlefield. So being able to remove damage off the field and still deal damage if it's a character dice, it just becomes another versatile control card that this deck is a big theme of this deck is just versatility. And I think it's a theme of Palpatine in general. And if you really form your deck around that synergistic versatility and utility, I think you're going to have a strong engine for success. Going into Deflect, blue staple. Even now with action cheating and the rise of Vader Raider, Deflect is just too good against Poe. It's too good in the mirror. It's good against Rey because Rey plays holdout blasters. It's too good of a card not to run.
Yeah, it is really good. It has fallen off for me a little bit. I actually dropped it out of my deck personally because and then again, also I'm playing a double color deck, and whereas this is mono blue, you have limited options. Deflect is amazing. There are more characters I feel that are rising up than just Vader Raider. Like you got emo kids, and you got all the FN decks out there.
Yeah,
there's a lot of melee running around.
Which those two decks have ranged sides. Keep that in mind.
Oh.
They're only 1 damage range sides, but still, that's a 2 damage swing and a dice removal.
True. Good point.
Coming into Doubt. Doubt's probably one of my favorite cards that was released from Spirit of Rebellion because it's a 0 cost and it just deals with certain dice that suck. Vibro Dice. I'm looking at you, kid.
Yeah, or Holocron. It's actually amazing to do on Holocron.
Yeah, unless they hit the special.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a 1 out of 6.
2 out. It's 1 out of 3.
It's double special.
It has double special sides.
Okay.
But being able to do this on like an overkill that has only modified sides that they can't resolve, it's just a free dice removal. Yeah. I love Doubt. Mainly to deal with Vibro Knife because that really hurts this deck. So it gives you that small window to be able to kill whoever has the Vibro Knife.
Also Makashi training. But one of the things that I do love about Doubt, I feel like Doubt is it is above and beyond, I feel, in terms of dice removal. It is, I think, for sets and sets to come, we will slowly. I think Doubt is securing itself in the meta. Like a lot of people are starting to realize how powerful Doubt is, and it's starting to show up in more lists. But as time goes on, it's gonna just get better, like more. It's almost like a super he doesn't like you that you don't need. You're trading the loss of a dice, so you no longer lose a dice, but you're giving the opponent the possibility to do something to you. So like maybe taking damage or something like that.
It's good against Poe. If Poe rolls out the special, you can doubt him. And maybe he hits the resource and has to resolve it or get rid of it. Poe doesn't care about resources, so that's a win for you.
Yeah, he has a 50% of Poe's sides are non-damage. So if he rolls special and you doubt it, you have a 50% shot to not deal for him to not deal any damage, and a large chance for you to reduce the amount of damage that he's going to do to you.
Yep, because that special could be a Falcon for 4.
Yeah, or a thermal for 3 to everyone.
Yep.
Which is the best thing ever.
Yep. Going into another 0-cost card, Rejuvenate. Real simple that I don't think a lot of people were originally running, but heal 1 damage. 0 cost, heal a damage. It's half of a field medic, so that field medic is 2 damage for 1 resource cost. So why is 0 resource cost for 1 damage? Not good. When you only have one character, the one resource, the one healing, it's focused. Again, it goes back to Otoh Gunga, focused healing. You get more efficiency out of it.
Really, really, really strong in Palpatine for sure.
Yep. Which then combos well with Enrage. So this deck is really resource intensive, not because of its upgrades, but because of its events. So we need Enrage to generate more resources, which Rejeuvinate allows us to kind of compensate for that, so we can heal that one damage that we take, still gain the resource, and then have access to all of our control, our Rise Agains.
Good card. And here it is right here, the cornerstone of the deck of decks, the card that many people probably didn't think was very good when it was previewed in Spirits of Rebellion.
Yeah, the card that I've been talking about this whole video, you guys are probably like, if you don't know what it is, you're like, what is this Rise Again this guy keeps talking about? Like, what is this card? So when Palpatine was first released, everybody's like, how's this character going to work? He's only one guy. He's just going to die. Rise Again then got released, and everybody was like, all right, hold up, what? So 5 resource costs, so it's steep, but this deck can definitely generate those resources. Heal 5 damage from your character, so you're getting a 1-for-1 healing to resource cost ratio, and then you get ramp into an ability. Like, you get a blue upgrade from your discard pile onto Palpatine. So you don't care about your Force Illusion mills if you're hitting Force Lightning or Force Throw. You can discard to reroll. Just put them in your discard pile so that you can Rise Again them for free. And then you're just getting such value out of this one card. Yeah. And everybody's like, well, it's 5 resource costs. Why do you run 2 of them? There has not been a game that I've played with Palpatine that I don't play both of them. I've had the resources, the ability to play both of them.
Yeah, very easy to do when you're not spending resources on upgrades. If you're just focusing on Palpatine, focusing on removing dice, Rise Again is there for you. Especially since it also plays to the playstyle of always resolve Palpatine's dice. So if you roll resource, you're getting resources.
Yep, which brings me to a point with Palpatine and with Rise Again, needing those resources. A lot of mistakes newer Palpatine players are they aggressively reroll for damage. Don't do that. If you have a resource, claim it. Because you're still dealing damage, but you need your resources. They're so important.
For sure. All right, so speaking of new Palpatine players and figuring out how to play Palpatine and beating the opponent, now let's go into the strategy section where Azarith is going to fill your ear on all the wonderful things that you can do with the Emperor of the Galaxy.
All right, guys, so now we're going to teach you how to rule the galaxy with Palpatine. So going into starting off the game, probably the hardest part about Destiny is knowing what to mulligan for in certain matchups. So I'm going to start with Palpatine's biggest weakness is his susceptibility to Crime Lord. Because, one, you have one character. So if they Crime Lord this character, you're dead. You can't do anything about it. So you need to have a way of dealing with that. But blue doesn't have a lot of ways to deal with upgrade dice. So that's why we need to hard mulligan for Sith Holocron and one of these 2 upgrades. Now, obviously, you want the Force Throw more than the push because the push is just a Band-Aid, where the Force Throw is a hard removal of it. But the push can still deal with the dice early because they're generally not going to have the rerolls to go into it, or they're not going to have the focus because they might have already used it. So I would definitely go hard for one of these 2 and the Holocron against the Crime Lord decks. Less important against aggro decks like Poe Maz, Poe Rey, Vader Raider. Force Throw can still do a lot of work against Vader Raider, though. Against the faster aggro decks like Poe Maz, you definitely want to see Isolation and Deflect. The reason that you don't want to see High Ground is because you're probably going to lose the battlefield against them. It's just, unfortunately, you only have 2 dice where they have 4. Now, your dice size values are high, but unfortunately, they have 4 dice to your 2. It's just the odds are that you're not going to win the battlefield, and they're always going to take theirs. They have Emperor's Throne Room, which gives you 2 shields, but that's nice. Doubt is another good card to see with Poe Maz, and especially against like Qui-Gon Rey or Vader Raider, because you're going to see Vibro Knife. You need to deal with Vibro Knife, so Doubt is going to be your best friend with that. And then the last card that I will worry about going for is Enrage Rejeuvinate. If you only get one of the 2, that's fine. But if you get both of them, you got a really nice combo to set you up for a turn 2 Rise Again if you have to. And that's mainly, you want to have your Rise Again online as fast as possible against a lot of the aggro matchups, because they're going to try to burst you down. And especially against Poe Maz, if you can stall them out to turn 3 or 4, the deck stalls out hard, and then you can generally outlast them. So if you can get a Rise Again online for turn 2, you've set yourself up for success in the game.
Cool. Now, is there any deck that you're gonna mulligan for Rise Again?
I haven't had one yet where I hard mulligan for Rise Again turn 1. Now, I'll hard discard to draw into it. If I need to, I'll discard my whole hand to go for it. Especially if I've got a whole bunch of upgrades, just pitch them.
Right.
You don't need them because your Rise Again's going to get them.
So what do you feel would be cards that you absolutely would not want to see in an opening hand? So we kind of already talked about Rise Again.
Rise Again is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
In certain matchups, I don't want to see a Deflect, just because it's going to be a useless card. And then Force Lightning is probably the only other card that I don't really want to see. Even though I can pitch it into my discard pile, I just don't want it sitting in my hand, unless I have the Holocron. But these are probably the 3 cards situationally. Rise Again for sure, I very rarely ever want to see it in my opening hand.
Now, will you keep Force Lightning if you have a Holocron with it?
Yes, especially if it's my only upgrade. I'm not going to get rid of the Lightning to try to fish for like Force Throw. I'll take the free Lightning and be happy with it, because I can get 4 damage on that turn. A lot of the matchups are going to be you making the decision as the Palpatine player of how you want this tempo to be. If you're going to play against Poe Maz, they want to keep the tempo fast and they want to end the game by turn 3. You need to slow the tempo down. You need to get your shields. Even go for a Lure of Power. If you think you need to slow the game down, go for your Lure of Power so you can resolve Palpatine's shield sides to get more shields. I can't tell you how invaluable that extra shield is, because you're also doing damage with it. Against a Crime Lord deck, you know that they're going to try to Crime Lord you as early as possible. I've been Crime Lorded turn 2. I have lost with this deck against Crime Lord. It just can be inevitable. But you can set yourself up for success. Again, Lure of Power into a 4 discard. You can just nuke the Crime Lord before they get to play it. Always resolve the discard side. Comes back to always resolving Palpatine's side. Don't fall into that trap of having to go for his high damage sides.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
So I do want to talk a little bit about this whole certain way of playing Palpatine, which is, the idea of just immediately rolling out Palpatine and resolving his dice, versus, like, let's say you have like a Holocron in your hand. Sometimes it's better to not even play the Holocron. Apparently, I don't play Palpatine, but apparently this is what people tell me. I'd just like you to comment about that.
Yeah, so it's actually the way of thinking that I've developed ever since reading Justin McBride's article on his Palpatine deck. He just rolls Palpatine in as soon as possible, because the metagame is so fast right now. You don't have time to play your upgrades. You need to get Palpatine's dice into the pool so that you can start resolving those sides, because all of his sides, except for the blank obviously, hurts your opponent, and you're going to put your pressure on your opponent to react differently. So you want to get Palpatine's dice out. You'll have the ability to save your money, except for save your money from playing the upgrades for your removal, which is so important. And then playing your upgrades, if you have to, like a Lure of Power or even a Holocron in some matchups, at the end of the turn, and go in setting yourself up for that turn 2 Holocron. Now, against slower decks, you probably can get away with dropping the Holocron before Palpatine rolls out, especially if you have a Force Throw and it's against a yellow villain, so you want to get that Force Throw online as quick as possible. The slow matchups are where you could afford to slow things down a little bit, get the Holocron out, and then once you have the Holocron out, don't play upgrades. Again, you don't want to play upgrades hardcasted anyway, and just don't play them until you've got Palpatine rolled out. Because you want to it's all about pressuring your opponent into making a mistake. This deck is forcing your opponent to make mistakes and capitalizing on them. It's a lot of decks want to do that, but Palpatine sides just make it so your opponent has to think differently with every roll. In your late game, you want to see a setup like this.
And it's like the ultimate palp setup.
In most matchups, this is your I'm done with this game. I want to end this. Like, enough is enough. I'm done. If you're against the Crime Lord, you want this setup.
So if with a force push, imagine just for a second you roll triple special. You resolve specials, force push into a blank and a 3, like a 3-side. Force lightning the blank to reroll, and then force throw the 3. You just removed 2 dice, re-rolled your force lightning, and did 4 damage.
Yep. Yeah, Palpatine. Late game Palpatine is scary stuff. He's only one guy, but oh man, can he bring a train? He drives that train, and it's awesome. No Mercy is just your closeout card. You're like, I need to kill somebody now. Do this on a Palpatine dice, you've got 9. Do this on a Force Lightning, if you've got 3 resources, you're getting 8. This is your closer. This is, again, this late game Palpatine comes down to enough is enough. I'm done with this game. I need to kill you.
Awesome,
and
awesome.
It's fun when you do that.
Well, good stuff. All right, so I love this deck, and I played a lot against it. I even like losing to it, which just goes to show like good design, good card design, good deck design. So give us final words, Azarith, on why you love this deck or why the viewers at home should play it.
So a lot of it comes down to is exactly what you just touched on, and I love that you just said it. This deck is fun to play. It's also fun to play against. This deck has great design. Like, I've played Pomaz. The deck's not fun to play. And if a deck's not fun to play, why should I play it? Because it's good? Because it's competitive? That's not the reason to play a card game. So I love playing Palpatine because he's a lot of fun to play. He's a real cool character. You get to feel really thematic. You are the Emperor. You rule over everyone.
Yeah, you don't need anyone to help you. Yeah.
Yeah, you are your own guy. You are the Sith Lord. You are the master of the Force, and this build will demonstrate that to your opponent. And the other thing is your opponent doesn't really know what to do. For only having one character, they're not sure what to do. Like, yeah, they could mitigate your dice, but so can you. And you can outrace most of what they're going to do. I love it. I just love the pressure that it puts on your opponent. And like I said, builds can differ, and I'd love to see everybody else's build. I love looking at lists that pop up online. Just looking, it's like, oh, how's this list different than mine? That's what I love. Like, Palpatine can be built a lot of different ways. I've seen people that play it with Dark Presence. I ran it, my original build ran Dark Presence. It can be a really full-on control deck.
Yeah, another really good card that I like that Bill plays is Now You Will Die.
Now You Will Die?
Yeah.
It's a card I've been thinking about, but I don't know what to cut. Yeah. I'm just at this point with the list that I wouldn't know what to cut. And Bill and I have varying opinions on Palpatine's sides. I don't think I would ever want to resolve a dice that isn't the side that it is, outside of that shield side in control matchups.
Yeah.
So the Now You Will Die, it would be like a one-of for me. And unfortunately, like, one-ofs just don't fit in this deck. This deck's too streamlined.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining us, Azarith. And viewers at home, if you want to be the Galactic Emperor, force lightning the bejesus out of your opponents and all the enemies and just lay waste to all the people around you, play this deck. We're super happy to bring this to you, and we got more deck videos coming. Azarith, you got another deck video that's going to come out, right?
I do. I'll give a little spoiler as I did on Facebook. Mon Mothma Hired Guns. I love this deck.
It sounds super fun, and I can't wait to go over the deck video. But of course, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you like, what you don't like about this video. And of course, if you have your own Palp build, send it below. Give us a link. We'll check it out. I'm sure Azarith is interested. But
very much so.
Yep. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time. All right. Good job.